my name is Forman. I'm a
third generation glazer. My grandfather owned a glass company based out of Houston. All my uncles own glass companies. It's in our blood, it's in our DNA. I've been installing glass since I was knee high to a grasshopper.
My grandpa started our family in the glass business in 1977 in Houston, Texas. All my uncles, all my cousins in the glass business. So I just grew up in it, doing everything, cutting glass, tinting car windows, hack outs, showers, storefronts. I remember 15 years old, ran 100 foot of storefront before lunch. We had all the frames set and everything. And just so that's what I did. Took over my uncle's company in Austin, Texas, a little over 2 years ago now. And now I'm out in Denver working with GCS. I technically do, I guess, work for GCS, but I definitely see it as a little bit of different thing. I get to partner with Brandon and Tom and to hopefully building something bigger. I want to change the industry. I think that we get a really bad rep for how great of a product that we get to install and do. So my goal in all of this is to change the stigma behind the glass industry.
So you got Glazer's blood.
Glazer's blood.
Been doing
it's running through my DNA, bro. It's undeniable.
So glazing ever since you were a kid, or did you get out of it, or has it always been, something you did?
It was always what I ran back to. I'm definitely an entrepreneur. There's no doubt about it. I've done everything from the common, mowing grass, knocking on doors, owned a boat detailing company where, at 16 years old, I was detailing both of Beyonce's dad's boats. He would pay me $1,000 a month for each boat. And then when I got that account, it turned into a snowball of accounts, and then that turned to cars. So I had this detailing company. I did pretty well. So well that I faked a co-op form, signed my mom's signature and everything, and gave it to my boss so I could come in to work at noon every day. And so I would skip school to go to work,
Nice.
Which most people wouldn't do something like that, right? But glazing was always like when finances weren't going my way or something, I took a bad fall, a bad hit some way, I could always go get some jobs doing glass. My grandparents had, the older they got, the smaller their business got, and like kind of the easier to maintain it became. So I always had a place to get glass ordered, to order glass, to run a business out of that was kind of free. So I'm very ambitious. I had like really big goals. Like I'm one of those, I want to be a billionaire kind of guys, I don't know if that makes me, what's the word? Not greedy, but, I don't know. When you talk about big numbers like that, people just kind of think like, dreamer more or less. But I'm pretty ambitious. I always kind of fight for what I want and usually get what I want. And when I was a little younger, I sold my first glass company for $1 million at 23 years old. Didn't get any of it because my partner was so far in debt and I didn't do paperwork and background checks and know what I was even getting myself into. So we hardly got anything out of it. But I ran from the business because I didn't think there was enough money in it and I wanted to go make real money. My uncles were successful, but not wildly successful. So got out of the business, and then my daughter was injured at birth. We were living in California, Northern California, and her neck was broken at C5, C6 level. Put us in the ICU and living in a hospital for and we did 400 days in less than 2 years.
Wow.
In an ICU setting. And that kind of humbled me. But at the same time, I lost everything I had built. I had multiple companies from the tobacco industry, coffee industry, real estate, and production company, and kind of lost or sold everything in that. And when I got down to the bottom and had nothing left, My uncle, whose company I took over, Ames, my parents worked for me, so it wasn't like I could call them and ask them for money. He kind of bailed me out, and then now I just feel like I kind of owe him. And all my cousins went different directions: welding, operators in plants. My sister's the only person to ever graduate from college, and so my grandpa's not doing too well. He's on dialysis and stuff like that. And my uncle doesn't have any kids. So something that brought me back into the business, it kind of feels more than like, I feel like now I'm smart enough, not that I'm like super intelligent, but that I'm smart enough that if I'm going to do anything, I can be successful at it, you know? So I feel like I've chosen glass, or glass kind of chose me. No one else is building off of the legacy that my grandpa, my uncles have built. So I kind of am the last of a dying breed in the family, and I'd love to see that through. And my daughter's in a wheelchair, and not saying that I would force her into this. They can, just like you guys said, they can do whatever they want. But if I can set up a really great opportunity for her to run a really successful business and grow it beyond me, I would love to be able to do something like that.
Nice. So what did you do when you got out of the glass business, and then when you got back into the glass business? What did you do for Ames when you got back in? Did you go back into installing, or did you go back into more of the managing and running the company?
So we made a deal. The deal was that I was dealing with a lot of stress and a lot of angst. And what really happened was I was down to nothing. I had $300 to my name. My family was in Baltimore at a spinal cord rehab for children. My wife was 6 months pregnant. I flew to California, literally packed all our stuff in a 6x12 U-Haul, gave everything else to Goodwill or sold it in a garage sale, moved a 3-bedroom house by myself, drove back to Texas. I had $300 to my name. I used that to buy a ticket to go to Baltimore. I was done, right? Had $0. So called my uncle. He bailed me out. When I got here, or to Austin, I just went to lunch with him just to say thank you. And somehow or another that struck into me going to work for him. And I said, well, I don't want the responsibility of being an entrepreneur, of owning the business or doing all that, or running people, managing people. I'm good at, I feel like I'm a personable person. I like to talk to people. I wouldn't say I'm the greatest salesman, but if I could have an opportunity to speak someone, I could sell whatever it is that I'm putting my mouth behind, right? So I just wanted to sell shit. Like, you run the business and I'll blow it up for you, because I'll go do things that most people would be embarrassed to do. I'll put my name out there on the line. I'll make sure we get the attention we deserve. So I just wanted to sell shit.
Nice. So how did that work out? Did it
like shit? The guy that had been working for him for 15 years, Sergio, he managed everything. He was still installed every day. He was a Garrett for you, but an installer, and the fastest, the best installer, and everyone respected him that worked there. But then he got an opportunity to own a home back where he was from in the Valley, and he could get a job for half the price down there. Wow. And live like a king compared to what he was making in Austin. And then the cost of Austin was just getting more expensive. So when he left, no one really stood up and kind of took on that role. Right. So I had to kind of interim do it. And then I tried to make the right hires, because we were growing really fast at that time. It was like 6 months time, I went from 6 employees to 21 employees. So it was a pretty fast, rapid growth. But with that, not having anyone to really manage the growth and everything, we made a lot of mistakes.
So you guys essentially choked yourself with growth.
Yeah, exactly. So I tried to step into that role, but I wouldn't consider myself the best manager. I'm very chaotic. I'm all over the place. So since then, we've actually scaled back significantly, and I've put in place the right people. I have a full-time marketer, a full-time videographer, an operator, and we're really trying to just grease the wheels to make everything run a little bit more systematic. I'm really envious to, you guys, you started from the beginning and got to build your process. Well, I jumped into something that's already existing. So right there, I lose the respect because I didn't build it. I inherited it. And then even when I do bring new stuff, if you get that mentality of, well, we've been doing it this way for this long, you're changing things, you're breaking it. Not that I was trying to make things better. They think I'm trying there to like sabotage their livelihoods, I guess, or their work.
So you ended up in Colorado.
Yeah.
What made you decide to move from Austin to Denver?
So to be real honest, it was just all about my daughter. Everything's been about her and chasing the best quality of life from her. We were in San Francisco, North Bay Area of California. We really, really loved it there. Weather was perfect. She did really well there, but we couldn't get home health care. And once we were able to make it out of the ICU, from there, we went to Cleveland, then we went to Baltimore, ended up back in Texas for financial support with family, friends, and we were able to get nursing. And nursing was really good. It really kind of helped us. I was able to go back to work. I couldn't work for over 2 years, and that kind of destroyed us, went through my life savings. Well, my daughter didn't do really well in the heat in Texas. And so last summer was a really hard summer for us. We couldn't even go outside. We tried one time and she had almost a heat stroke. And then the rehab, there's no real rehab for spinal cord injuries for pediatrics. There's one in Houston, but they won't take her on a ventilator. So we really had 4 choices in the whole country to go. It was go to Pittsburgh, go to Baltimore, go to Chicago, or go to Denver. And Brandon and I had built a pretty good relationship off of Instagram. Both of us are pretty big on social media for our industry. And so we built a pretty decent relationship going back and forth. I always talk to him about, hey, what are you doing? How are you doing it? Why are you doing that? Would give him credit where credit was due when he would help me out. And so I told him like, hey man, I'm thinking about going to Denver. I don't know what there is for us to do, I know I'm really proud of Ames and I'm trying to build that legacy, and he's proud of GCS and he's trying to build that. So I knew like going under one name wasn't really the right thing, or I don't know what the right thing is. So it was more like, let me go out there. I'll kind of show you what I'm all about, and bringing on some business. It's going to be really good for my daughter. The children's hospital there is great. They have a full hand specialist, pulmonary specialist. They have like a whole clinic behind each, and spinal cord injury clinic. The Craig Hospital there, which is a world-renowned spinal cord injury that we're trying to get accepted to. So my daughter took me there. Glass is kind of what's going to be able to help me stay there. And I just feel, I don't know, you get those gut feelings sometimes where like, there's something about this that's right. I don't really know the technical details to it yet. And I don't think Brandon or Tom do either, but I think we're onto something pretty big and pretty special as long as we just keep working hard and chipping away at it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be working out so far out there. Seems like you guys are gaining steam from the looks of it. So
yeah, I love it. It's a great market. It's a bigger city than Austin, but I mean, I think both of them have been top 3 fastest growing cities in America for like the past 5 years. When you drive downtown, there's cranes turning on every corner,
Yeah.
So I love the market. It's really, really good. I got a little depressed at first because some of my older tactics when I first started at Ames 2 years ago weren't working now, but kind of made some tweaks and some adjustments, and things are starting to kind of snowball. We're trying to catch them ahead of steam. It's really nice.
Nice. What are your kind of goals for the future? What do you see yourself doing? Do you see yourself staying in the glass business, or?
I'm like I said, I'm an entrepreneur to the fact that I want to be successful. I want to be rich. I want to be financially secure. I want to give my family this great quality of life. I mean, having a daughter with special needs is a little bit more of an expense than just regular children. But I've decided, I get distracted a lot. That's why I was in tobacco, coffee, all those other industries. But you see that just 2 years away from that, it kind of crumbled. So now I've made a promise and a vow to myself to stay very, very hyper-focused. I don't know if building one company in the glass business is really the ideal, but the industry itself, to be really frank, I just want to take over. I want to build a really big name for ourselves. And I think between Tom, Brandon, and myself, the expertise of my family and stuff like that as well. I got some good skin in the game to do something really big in the industry and kind of change the stigma.
Awesome. So you're gunning for the big things.
Yeah, I definitely. Like a chain. I used to think franchise would be cool, but a chain would be really cool. I'd love to take over North America, be bigger than some of the big chains. I'll go on record and say that I want to be bigger than Ben Swinger. I know they're the largest full service glass company out there. I definitely want to be the largest residential glass company. Commercial I see is really big and I like it and I want to go that route eventually. But a big reason that really struck me to partner up with GCS is, I mean, they kill it when it comes to quality and innovation, design. And that's something I've always been really interested in, architecture and design and stuff like that. And I think that you get to be a little bit more creative with that stuff in the residential market than you do in the commercial. So I'd love to just build a, world-renowned residential glass company that kind of takes over and, doesn't matter where you are, if you need a shower, you're almost like when you want a soda, you say, I want a Coke, right? So if you need a shower or you need glass, you're going to think, whether it's GCS, Ames, Glass Experts, whatever we kind of really hone in on name-wise, I want to put our stamp on it and make sure that we're the name everyone thinks of.
Awesome.
I was gonna say, you say that you are an entrepreneur who chose glazing, but where do you think that came from? Like, what is that? Of course now it's a Lily, but even before Lily, what was that like fire in your bones that said, I want to be the billionaire, I want to make the money, I want the success?
To be real honest, it came from my grandpa as well. He used to carry around, like, he wasn't that successful, but he always looked rich, right? But he carried around a knot of cash in his pocket. And I remember, I don't think there was ever a time that went by before he had his stroke that he didn't pull that out and show me and tell me, you see that, boy? That's a knot that'd choke a mule, And he would pull that out, and it would like, it just burned inside me that that's what I needed, that's what made me a man. And then the hustle, I can remember it like very specific, where you're turning off a shaver onto Spencer Highway, headed to a shop. I was 9 years old. This dude stops in the middle of a 4-way intersection on a busy street, puts his truck in park, gets out and gets a screwdriver out of the middle of the road. And I'm like freaking out, like, what is he doing? He was like, he gets back in the truck and he hands it to me and he tells me, you never pass up on free money. And I didn't know what that meant. We go back to the shop and he cleans it up. And after 3 customers came up, because he had like a walk-up kind of glass shop where you could get glass cut, tint your windows. He'd do alarms and stuff like that back then. And by the 3rd customer that walked up, he had sold that screwdriver. And it was just like this hustle of like, you could sell anything if you're willing to try. Mm-hmm. And that kind of struck the sales part of me. So that's when I went to do, anything I could sell or try to sell to exchange a product for $1. It piqued my interest, and I was very interested and wanted it more. It was almost like a high, a rush that I was always chasing.
The other thing is, what do you think you've learned from your failures in your other businesses? And you've talked about it before, like processes and systems and just stuff that you didn't know then that you know now that you implement a lot better.
Simplify to scale. I think that we have a hard problem with that even at Ames still, because we've been a full service glass company. It's really scary to stop what's been bringing you income for so long and just focus on one thing. And as much as we have simplified, I failed because I tried to do too much. And it wasn't that I tried to do too much because that I couldn't handle it. It was that nothing was in alignment with one another. I thought it was. I thought I was smart. I was a 24, 25-year-old kid. And just because I had a cigar shop, I opened up a coffee shop next door and sold Cuban coffee, that I thought the two aligned with one another, and they could bounce back and forth. And then I filmed everything at those, and I was really big into taking pictures and posting online and making sure we had a brand behind what we were building. So I'm like, oh, I should start a production studio. And then so I thought everything made sense and kind of went with one another. But it was too much. It didn't align. So I think that's been my biggest takeaway is being humbled by my daughter and what happened. Not getting too big headed and too ego. You know, I was a millionaire by 25 years old, and I never thought I would go backwards. I was just going to keep snowballing and get more successful. And that took a hard toll to where I was negative in a bank account and having to borrow money from family. So that was humbling. So now that's why I'm like super focused on glass. But even then, right now, I need to scale back. So that's why I get super interested, even with working with Tom in Denver. We just do showers, you know, we'll do a little stuff here and there, but it's really nice. The training process, you know, the process of checking in the glass, everything's the same. You do the stuff, even though it's different, every job is custom. You're doing the same thing day in, day out. It's trainable, it's scalable. So I think that's been my biggest takeaway.
Last thing, I think most of us really know you from social media. So where did that ambition for social media come from, and where, like, did you think it was going to take you here? Did you feel like it was going to lead you somewhere to make these kind of connections, or was it just something that you were like, hey, I like taking pictures? Or
I could care less about taking pictures. I could care less about personal social media. I see it as a tool. I've always been in construction my whole life and glass, you know, so like I hate going on a job site and not having the tools that I need to get the job done right. Social media to me is like, I like sales as well, and I can go out and shake a bunch of hands, right? But if I literally, how many hands could I shake in a day, even if they were all one after another, perfectly scheduled out in alignment, you know? I could only schedule so much and shake so many, 50, 100 maybe hands a day. Even cold calling, sitting behind a desk, you're talking maybe 150, 200 calls in a day, and that's rocking. You know, you'd be an elite salesman at a big company if you did something like that and perform those numbers. But on social, I can sit and before they took away DMs on Instagram, I could DM people, you know, I get 100, 150 in amount of a couple hours, you know. I could get on and cold email people hundreds, thousands. 3 weeks ago, Tom, I did 1,000 cold emails, one individually in one weekend. So I really like the social aspect of being social. I had companies copying mine with the cigar lounge and literally taking my logo, my image, and opening in other countries and other states and everything. And we were trademarked, so I was trying to sue them before all this happened. But I was able to meet Brandon. I was able to meet a couple other guys, and the people that I really saw that were doing cool shit and really putting a lot of effort and energy behind them and cared about their image. I made sure that I had good conversations with those guys and tried to build a social friendship through social media. So I think it's a tool. It's a really, really fucking awesome tool that I think people 50 years ago would have begged for, you know, like holy shit, they would have thought it was magic. And the big companies like the Procter and Gambles and, you know, the monstrosities, you know, the Berkshire Hathaways, if they had social media back in the day, the 1% would be the 0.0001%, you know? So I think that we have a great tool and we should take advantage of it.
cool. Last words?
Last words?
That sounds very morbid, but
I don't want to die. Nah, I'm a huge family man. Nothing matters more to me than my girls. If it came to somebody's life all over again, I would give it all up all over again. It wouldn't matter. It's just materialistic things and time and energy and effort. And I can always put forth more of that. So as long as my family's good, I'm going to be happy. I got my happiness. I'm always going to be good. But I don't think anything could ever take that drive away, that ambition, that want, the desire, that hunger. So I'm always going to let that fuel me to where I'm going to go. I'm never going to let life's actions dictate how successful I can be. And now that I got some good people in my corner, all the way from my videographer he was my first hire. And he saw the vision. He was with it. David, since day one, has believed. My marketer, since day one, has believed. My sister took a huge cut in pay to come be my operator and quit a career that she could have been very, very successful in to come help me grow this vision. And now partnering with my uncle, I want to give him a great life. He's 62. I want to let him retire. And then partnering with Tom and Brandon, I just feel like we're all kind of on the same thing. Now, I don't think all my employees, some of them, they believe the hype, but to them it is just hype, nothing ever
Right.
happens fast enough, So I think that with the right people in my corner and us all kind of getting in alignment with one another, I mean, the sky's literally the limit. We can really make these dreams into reality.